Hi, I'm Colin Lowenberg. I'm a member of the working group on Model Context Protocol Security, also known as MCP security. I'm here to tell you today about what MCP means and what it is and why it's important, and also why we've chosen MCP security as a major community-driven project for the Cloud Security Alliance, and how you can get involved with our team. We've been building new tools to help improve security for every developer and the enterprise around Model Context Protocol. So what is MCP? MCP is a new open source standard originally developed by Anthropic and embraced by OpenAI and all major companies in the space of artificial intelligence. So MCP is best analogy is a USB for AI. So MCP allows you to connect all sorts of databases, development tools, productivity tools to connect to an artificial intelligence or really a large language model that can do generative AI. So this enables you to chat with all of these different systems using that MCP protocol. And it also allows you to develop software using MCP. So MCP has been adopted very rapidly in the space of code generation and software development. So if you don't know how MCP is used in your environment, you should find out. It's very important. It's caught on quickly, and the attention has doubled almost every week for the last year since MCP was launched. So if you are using Claude Desktop or Claude Code, MCP is probably the biggest upgrade that adds to your environment and your user experience. In addition, MCP is not something that's just used by software engineers and developers. It's also now being used by everyday users in the enterprise and at home. You can communicate with MCP via a simple chat interface now using LLMs of your choice. So whether you're using ChatGPT or Claude or any LLM, you can connect that to MCP. So I'm going to show you why it's important now for us to look at MCP and from a security perspective, because MCP can enable access to your Google Calendar, your Notion, all of your personalized information, as well as all of your enterprise information. So if someone installs an MCP in your environment that connects to a database, that database is now connected to an LLM or an AI that can actually access that. Now, you might say, well, that's not a huge risk. You rely on humans to chat with LLMs, so it's up to that human how it gets used. However, we're now moving into the agentic era where AI agents can operate and run on their own without human interaction, and that's called an autonomous AI agent. So in this new agentic security model, MCP is providing access and connectivity without humans actually being able to see what's going on. So MCP is now even more powerful, and it creates this ecosystem where computers and AIs can talk to each other and actually do quite a bit behind the scenes. So I'm going to show you there are two things that happen in the Model Context Protocol ecosystem. There are people building servers or MCP servers, and there are people building clients or ways to use MCP. So a client is kind of like, the USB port, and the server is where you're connecting it to. So you can run MCP locally on your own machine. And if you're running local AI agents on your own machine, you also pose risks. By having MCP running locally on your own machine, you have more control. However, now you don't have the ability to restrict necessarily access within your own machine. So you can, if you're running cryptocurrency wallets on your own machine, you could expose your wallet to an MCP or an AI agent on your own machine. And this is actually a pretty famous hack, is that someone installed an extension in VS Code. And I'll show you right now, if you open up your Visual Studio Coder, this is the most popular coding environment released by Microsoft. And they now have extensions in here, and I can install MCP servers directly into my coding environment. So these are some of the VS Code extensions, and some of them have MCP. So if you search for MCP in the marketplace, you'll find tons of new MCP extensions. You can see I was just using Revenue Cat's MCP extension, and you can see MCP from and Anthropic. So you also now have this decision, which extensions do I install in my coding environment? Another popular coding environment is Cursor. This one has an agent built directly in, so it's very popular. And it also has these extensions, and you can install MCP servers directly into Cursor. And my favorite, Windsurf, literally has an MCP server marketplace directly inside of the coding environment. So I can search all of these MCP servers. So the explosion has already happened and MCP has already taken off. You can see there's an MCP server released by AWS Labs. However, and you can see the number of stars and the number of downloads, but you now compare that with other servers that might not be official servers or might not have the right number of stars, and now you have some risks. So if you look on the internet for MCP servers, you might find Smithery.ai, which has a nice list of all the agentic features that you can use. As well, you can use MCP.so to find awesome MCP servers and clients. However, you now are going outside of your enterprise environment, and you might even go to GitHub. So if you go to GitHub and you look for MCP servers, you'll see a repo with 70,000 stars and all these awesome MCP servers listed out for you in all sorts of categories. So it's a huge explosion. And now you're finding these MCP servers from different sources, whether it's in your coding environment, on some official looking website, or on just simply finding something on GitHub. So all of these things are open source projects in a lot of times. So a lot of these MCP servers are open source. So you can actually audit them and find out what's going on and what it's doing. So there's a risk analysis that you can do for every MCP server. And so we at the Cloud Security Alliance have developed a community project called Model Context Protocol Security, or MCP Security. I'm a working group member on this emerging community project, and the CTO, Kurt, of Cloud Security Alliance is actually developing tools for enterprises and developers to go and scan and audit their MCP servers, also help you find your MCP servers. So the challenge here is that these servers actually have access to your sensitive data, your critical systems, and all sorts of external APIs. And you can expose your software to major risks like privilege escalation or supply chain risks if someone, the person creating that MCP server, makes a change, or you actually install an MCP server that looks appropriate but actually has hidden risks. So what we need to do is we need to actually harden our MCP servers that we build ourselves to prevent them from being exposed, being a security risk on their own, as well as understand how to audit external MCP servers that were developed by third parties or even open source projects. So learning how to build your own MCP servers is a really good starting point, but learning how to also then harden your own MCP server is a really great place to start. So what we've created with the Cloud Security Alliance is first a comprehensive guide to hardening your MCP servers. So step by step, and it's also, I want to say this is a community discussion. So if you are interested in helping us and working to improve security in the ecosystem, you can join the hardening discussion right on the website modelcontextprotocol-security.io. And so we actually are organizing on our GitHub, and you can come to github.com/modelcontextprotocol-security, and you can join our project. So I encourage you to come join. We're working on all sorts of new tools. So we have an audit database, a vulnerability database, a MCP server operator, a builder, a finder, and an auditor. And as well, we want to go and survey the marketplaces. So I've been doing research to identify how the marketplaces approve and secure MCP servers. So if this is something that you're interested in, come get involved in the CSA. You can find us on Model Context Protocol-Security. Now, if you go back to what is MCP, this is not just a new technology, this is a re-architecture of how things connect. So this is the connecting tissue, and it's growing very quickly. And so this is really changing how software is being built, but also it's changing how users are going to access information. So we're seeing this as something that's not just for developers, but also marketing departments and PR departments, as well as onboarding and offboarding customers and employees. Is important to understand how the MCP servers are secured. And so right now the standards for this are still developing. So if you want to get involved, it's actually an open source project, and I would recommend you start by building an MCP server and then auditing it with our new MCP security tools. Again, I'm Colin Lowenberg. I hope to see you guys at the AI Summit.